Live from Idner Architects, this is Issues in Education. Here to lead a roundtable discussion with leaders in education is moderator John Carney on KTRF.
But we wrap up Issues in Education, brought to you by Idner Architects and Dennis Young, back president and CEO of Idner Architects. And I'll tell you what, as a parent, it's very comforting to see these many educators, administrators, superintendents, specialty people in technology as it pertains to education, taking this much of a vested interest in our youth and continuing education. And talk about how this, Issues in Education, has affected this whole landscape.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's working towards what we call optimizing human performance. That phrase kind of goes with sports, whether it's football or baseball and track, but it really goes in all other areas. If you're trying to become competent at singing or in the fine arts, you have to really optimize that performance. And it's time to really optimize performance in the classroom. And the technology is a tool that allows us all to access knowledge in a whole different sort of ways. It changes the role of the teacher. The teacher's more of a facilitator and doesn't really answer questions anymore. It really says, well, that's an interesting question, John.
Google it.
Go find out.
Right.
And it's that process of finding out that's just not individually, but it's collaborative, in a collaborative way. So the spaces that we're designing are all about collaboration. It's about the ability to adapt the room for different types of projects, different situations, and the students really design how those rooms are to function.
We've come a long way from buildings with lead paint that we went to school in, for sure.
Yeah, we're still trying to get rid of some of that. But what's really interesting is with this new pedagogy, which is, changing the education landscape, kids are really warming up to it. I mean, they're doing it at home, and they're bringing it to the classroom because they're already technically competent in a whole number of different ways, using their iPhone, their iPads, the games that they use at home. And I know when my kids were in high school, they were playing on games against players in other parts of the world at the same time. So it's really quite different. But what's interesting is how each one of our clients take to making a change a little differently. So, for instance, in the case of teachers, we've had a group called STEM Pack come to our office where there were 30 teachers. And they got to see what architecture was all about. Now, those same teachers go to other corporations and see what those are about so that they're teaching the kinds of skills. I mean, they get it. They see the exit outcome at the end of the process, what kids need to really have. So it's really a full circle of educating kids, informing teachers, having the corporate world step in and be really a partner in this whole process.
And so what I've heard over the last couple of hours from just about everyone that sat at these roundtables is the challenges that they faced and trying to keep up with the technology, with the demands of the kids, with the diversity of everything and social media and all of that. And I would assume also from an architecture perspective, you also have to keep up with those demands and those changing needs.
And what's interesting about it is just not the technology on designing a building. For instance, at SSM Cardinal Glennon in SLU, we just completed their pediatric dental facility. And their issue was, how do we get kids to understand the importance of dental health because it affects long-term health?
Right.
So rather than just designing spaces, which we did, we focused on what's called the Kids Dental Network, which is something that Dr. Stan Stesko and John Hatton are looking at expanding so that kids have an app on their phone. They can see when they were at the dental facility.
Wow.
They can check in and learn about some interesting things about dental hygiene that makes it kind of fun to learn. So
it's a lot different than the dentist's office we went to where they tried to scare you to death by putting the before and after molar shots if you didn't floss. Next month we come to you from Colorado, and we'll be talking more as we get closer to that. Thank you to Idner for their involvement in this and putting this all together. Dennis Young, President and CEO of Idner.